Next on my ancient DNA match journey is Mesolithic 2, lady from Cappadocia, Tep002 Cappadocia Turkey. I matched 0.17% with this sample and apparently genetically closer than 80.24% of other genome link users. So Tep002 is a sample from a pottery Neolithic Central Anatolian female individual unearthed at the Tepichik Chiftlik archaeological site, which is located in the Melendez Plain and surrounded by volcanic mountains positioned along the volcanic Cappadocia region in today's Turkey. The sample, known as the Lady from Cappadocia, is a highly significant ancient DNA profile of a Neolithic woman excavated in central Anatolia. Her genetic data has proved breakthrough insights into how the world's earliest farming communities migrated and mixed. Here's a breakdown of what scientists know about her, the discovery and archaeological context. She was unearthed at the Tepichik, I can't even pronounce that, I'll put it in there, archaeological site. This prehistoric settlement mound is located in modern-day Nigdi province, a region historically and geographically defined as part of volcanic Cappadocia in central Turkey. Radiocarbon dating places her life approximately between 6636 BCE and 6467 BCE. This dates her squarely to the pottery Neolithic period, roughly 8,500 years ago. Unlike neighbouring contemporary settlements such as Çatalhöyük, which had tightly packed wall-sharing community complexes, her community at Tepe Çiftlik built independent houses with open outdoor spaces. The region was highly attractive to early humans because of its abundant, high-quality obsidian sources used for tools. Genetic profile and ancestry: female. She belongs to the K1A12A mitochondrial haplogroup. This lineage is deeply tied to early Near Eastern and Anatolian hunter-gatherers and early European farmers. The Cappadocian shift. Genetic analysis of Tep002 and her community shook up previous archaeological theories. While earlier Anatolian farmers, like those from northwestern Turkey or the Konya Plain, were strictly isolated descendants of local hunter-gatherers, Tep002 shows a distinct genetic shift towards Eastern sources. She carried significant admixture from the Iranian, Neolithic and Caucasus/Levantine-related populations. Why she matters to science. Tep002 was featured in major archaeogenomic studies mapping the Neolithicization, I cannot say these big words, of Europe and the Aegean. Her DNA proves the Cappadocia was not an isolated mountain region, but a dynamic prehistoric crossroads where the local Anatolian foragers mixed with incoming migrants from the Fertile Crescent before these farming populations ultimately expanded westward into Europe. There's ongoing excavations at this particular site, the Tepisek Chiftlik. My God. They've systematically uncovered how these farmers lived and treated their dead. So how she was found. Tep002 was found buried directly within the prehistoric settlement, a standard custom for the community. She was buried under a floor or in an open courtyard area immediately adjacent to the stone and mud brick houses. Following the traditional Neolithic practice of the region, her body was placed in a hopper, and in brackets, crouched or fetal position. The shroud. Microscopic examination of organic remains in the grave shows that individuals like her were carefully wrapped in a straw-like woven cover or matting before burial. Archaeologists have uncovered dozens of skeletons at this same site. The dead span all age groups, including infants buried in large ceramic jars, children and elderly individuals. While many were single burials, the team also discovered mass graves where multiple people were laid to rest together. Several other specific individuals have had their genomes sequenced alongside TEP002 for comparison, including 001, a male who lived around the same time, 003, a male from the same era, and 004, a female who lived slightly later. Be interesting to know if they were all related somehow. Oh, it tells us, were they related? The social breakdown. A major genetic kinship study published in the Current Biology looked specifically at the household burial arrangements of this specific site and neighbouring Chattelhoyuk to see if houses equaled biological families. The results completely redefined what we know about human societies, the household rule, in a specific subcluster of burials examined at Tepesik, the one we're looking at, involving 5 females. Scientists found 2 pairs of first-degree relatives, likely sister or mothers/daughters, buried in close proximity or sharing a workspace. The dynamic exception. However, others buried within the exact same domestic buildings had no genetic relationship to the people around them. The verdict: TEP002 and her neighbours did not live in strict, isolated nuclear family homes. Instead, households were fluid social groups. While biological relatives certainly lived together, these early homes frequently adopted or integrated genetically unrelated companions into the household and buried them together as equals. Life for the Lady of Cappadocia and her community 8,500 years ago was defined by a beautiful but demanding mix of pioneering agriculture, intense craft specialization, and global trade. Living in a narrow valley in modern-day southern Cappadocia, her village of Tepesik Shiftlik functioned as a bustling Neolithic hub. Here's a vivid look into what her daily life would have looked like. Food and diet, heavy on the carbs, high on cavities. Her community's life was fundamentally structured around the seasonal rhythms of sowing, harvesting, and herding. The menu: TEP002 ate a highly localized diet packed with cereals, wheat and barley, and pulses, lentils and peas. They managed herds of sheep and goats and occasionally hunted wild horses, equids, and deer roaming the volcanic landscape. The protein gap. Stable isotope analysis shows everyone ate very similar meals. However, men had slightly higher protein levels in their bones, meaning TEP002 likely ate more plant-based porridge and bread, while men had slightly more access to meat. Because of this carbohydrate-heavy, sticky grain diet, dental studies revealed that TEP002 and her neighbours suffered from terrible tooth decay and high rates of cavities. The local industry: volcano glass and sharp tools. It was strategically right. Tepesik Chiflik was strategically located right between 2 of the prehistoric world's largest sources of obsidian. It's like one of my favorite crystals. Black volcanic glass. Household workshops. TEP002's home was not just a living space, but a mini factory. Her family spent hours striking raw volcanic blocks with harder flint stones to shape razor-sharp blades, scrapers, and arrowheads. Artisans in her village painstakingly etched unique geometric V-shaped marks into obsidian arrowheads using flint pieces. No 2 designs were ever the same, possibly serving as personal signatures, ownership marks, or spiritual symbols. While TEP002 lived a highly socialized life, the obsidian tools she helped produce traveled across the ancient world through massive trade networks, reaching as far as Cyprus and the Levant. Home life: independent house and fluid families. Unlike the claustrophobic roof-accessed hive houses of nearby Chattelhoyuk, TEP002 enjoyed a bit more personal space. She lived in a freestanding, rectangular house built of mud brick and stone, complete with doors that opened onto shared outdoor courtyards and alleys. Her days were physically exhausting. Women spent hours bent over low stone basins grinding grain, using bone needles to sew hides, and utilizing bone combs to weave coarse textiles. The living room burial. Death was never distant. When family members or close household companions died, they were wrapped in woven straw mats and buried right under the dirt floors of the room where Tep002 cooked, slept, and lived. Rituals and beliefs. Religion wasn't practiced in a separate temple, it was woven directly into daily life. Animal sacrifices. Archaeologists found a unique ritual pit in an open area of the village. Inside was the nearly complete skeleton of a large bull and 16 left front legs of sheep, neatly arranged after a massive communal feast or sacrificial ceremony. 16. It's a lot of people. Bone idols. Tep002's people had a unique artistic obsession. They collected the leg bones of wild horses and carved them into stylized human figurines, phalluses, and fertility tools, which they kept scattered around their homes. Wow. So how do we connect? Like, it's a very thingy match in percentage, but 80% more than other genome link users, right? And again, it's autosomally done. So the matches could come from my father's side in me or my mother's side in me. But following the mtDNA that I don't know my dad's Y chromosome, but following the mtDNA, they won't connect in that way at any time. So your maternal haplogroup, J1C3, and the lady from Cappadocia, her haplogroup is K1A, 12A, are fundamentally connected as distant cousin lineages on the human maternal family tree. To trace exactly how your maternal line connects with hers, we have to look back at the prehistoric migrations of Eastern Eurasia. The deep ancestral link, mitochondrial Eve. If we're going that far back, I'm guessing it must be on my father's side. Every human living today, every human alive today even, inherits their mitochondria from the mother, tracing back to a single common female ancestor in Africa, often called mitochondrial Eve. About 50,000 years ago, a major branch called haplogroup R emerged in Southwest Asia. This parent branch R split into several dominant daughter branches, my branch, J, and her branch, K, are two of those prominent daughter lineages. This makes J and K sister groups that share a common ancestral mother who lived in the Near East during the Upper Paleolithic era. Wow. Her lineage, K1A, 12A, this branch is deeply rooted in early Near Eastern hunter-gatherers and the very first Anatolian farmers. Skeletons belonging to the K1A haplogroup are frequently found across early farming sites in Turkey and Greece, eventually spreading into Central Europe as these populations migrated westward. My lineage, J1C3, haplogroup J is famously nicknamed Jasmine in popular genetic genealogy literature. The broader J1C branch expanded rapidly alongside the spread of agriculture. Ancient DNA records reveal that people carrying parent strains of J1C3 were living in Europe and the Near East right alongside early Neolithic farming communities. While the Lady of Cappadocia's specific lineage, the K1A, 12A, remained heavily anchored to the ancient Near East, Anatolia, and the Mediterranean, your specific J1C3 sub-branch underwent a massive expansion northward and westward. Today, J1C3 is very common across Western, Central, and Northern Europe, with high frequencies found in the British Isles, Scandinavia, and Germany. In short, you and Tep002 share an ancient maternal grandmother from the Stone Age. While her family line helped pioneer farming in the volcanic valleys of Cappadocia, your branch travelled onward, eventually anchoring itself deeply into the European continent. So I asked if this lady matched with any other finds in the site or across the other sites around Turkey. Yes. The lady from Cappadocia, Tep002, shares a direct maternal match or tight lineage connection with several other ancient skeletons found in Turkey and the broader Near East. Her specific mitochondrial haplogroup K1A12A is a crucial genetic marker that archaeogeneticists use to track how the earliest farming populations expanded. The ancient matches found across Turkey break down into the following categories: local matches at her own site, the one I can't say. The closest maternal matches to Tep002 are the people she literally lived and died with in her own village. Sample Tep001, a male skeleton excavated from the exact same Neolithic layers at the same site. While the DNA quality of the skeleton was slightly lower, meaning scientists could only confidently map him to the parent group K1A, his hyperlocal proximity and identical dating mean he was almost certainly a member of her immediate maternal clan. The K1A household cluster, several other females excavated in the domestic structure of the site belong to close sub-branches of the K1A family, confirming that a tight-knit group of maternal cousins formed the core backbone of her community. Regional matches in ancient Anatolia. Çatalhöyük, the Konya Plain, multiple skeletons excavated at Çatalhöyük, such as samples CTH728 and CTH842, belong to K1A. While Çatalhöyük had a completely different cultural architectural style, people lived in roof access hive houses rather than Tep002's independent freestanding homes. Their shared mtDNA proves they shared common maternal grandmothers. Aktopraklik, northwestern Turkey, further northwest near the Sea of Marmara, skeletons like AKT16 belonging to K1A3 mtDNA show her maternal cousins successfully migrated out of central Turkey and pushed toward the European borderlands around 8,500 years ago. Hamonorin, Gondrule, western Turkey, skeletons excavated from western Anatolia also showcase a dense concentration of the K1A lineage, acting as a genetic stepping stone before the family line jumped across the Aegean Sea into Europe. The ancestral link to the east, Iran. Tep002 is scientifically famous because a broader genome showed an eastern genetic shift, meaning her ancestors had recently mixed with incoming people from the Fertile Crescent. Her mitochondrial DNA backs this up perfectly. The exact same mutation, K1A12A, has been found in ancient skeletons excavated at Segabi and the Zagros Mountains of Iran. Now, I've matched with a few, it says Zagros, such as sample I1671 dating to the early Chalcolithic Neolithic era. This proves that Tep002's direct maternal line was part of a dynamic, highly mobile network of early humans who travelled along ancient trade paths between Iran, the Caucasus, and central Turkey. So next on my ancient DNA match journey is Mesolithic hunter from Karelian Island, the Onega Lake, the Republic of Karelia, Russia, 0.17%, and apparently genetically closer to this sample than 87.68% of other genome link users.